Welcome back to the Healthy Chicago podcast, where local health professionals and their guests discuss the latest public health issues affecting Chicagoans.
What's up, everyone? My name is John Jones, Rapid Response Lead for the Community Safety Coordination Center. Here, I have the honor and privilege of continuing our community engagement series with the two lovely Pauline and Amina from Phalanx Family Services and the Far South Chicago Coalition. Ladies, thank you for coming here today. It's an honor and pleasure to have you.
Absolutely.
Been a long time coming. We're trying to get this. Y'all are very popular people.
Oh.
So, we gotta get, once that opportunity arose, of course, we had to take advantage. So,
yes.
Again, thank you for coming out today. First and foremost, let's get straight into it. Would love to learn more about you, Pauline, and Phalanx Family Services, the work that you all do, where you're located, and then we'll give it to Amina as well. So, Pauline.
Sure. So, as John stated, Pauline Sylvain-Lewis with Phalanx Family Services. I'm also a resident of the Far South. I migrated there since we transitioned from Port-au-Prince, Haiti to the United States. That has been my home. And so Phalanx Family Services is just a body of net of folks who just really, really focuses on giving quality workforce development and mentorship to all ages 14 and up. And that's what we do. We're a workforce development agency. We provide mentorship. But we've kind of, since COVID, just tapped into some other things, such as we are part of the Healthy Community Zone Network with the Chicago HCZ.
HCZ.
Yeah, we can't say that.
Yeah, my former role.
Right.
Yeah.
HCZ. So our group does that, but I am so on the youth department side. So we do have adult services and youth departments, youth services, but I oversee a lot of our community engagement work and as well in partnership with Far South Chicago Coalition and the work Amina does, we anchor the My Shot My Future anchor network for the Far South.
Okay.
And so just a little bit short version of what Phalanx does. You may know us from our community events that we hold in the parking lot a lot of our giveaways, but our core work is workforce development. We've intertwined into just doing healthcare work, activist work, and as well as just doing some violence prevention work on the Far South.
Okay.
Yep.
That's dope.
Yep.
That's dope. Yeah. Big fan of Phalanx over there, doing incredible work.
Absolutely.
I know it's been an honor to support you all from the CSCC perspective. So glad to have you here. Thank you for coming, Pauline.
Yes. Thank you.
Amina, would love to learn more about the Far South Chicago Coalition, the work that you all do, a little bit the story behind the FSCC. So please let us know.
The story is far greater than like the organization because the organization was created, founded by Dr. Joyce Chapman, who was an avid community activist for 20 plus years. I'm 30. Yep, 20 plus years. And I just know that because she was my mom. She made sure that she instilled in my sisters and I the sense of community, the sense of work, the sense of love, and to honor where you came from. With our Asian background, that was really big for her. So 2020 arose an opportunity to create her own quality of life plan, and she played a very instrumental role in getting over 80 stakeholders, organizations, community members, residents, business owners together in one small space, and that space is Phalanx Family Services.
Okay.
Miss Tina and my mom were a dynamic duo together. Miss Tina led the workforce development side. My mom led the community engagement and development side. So with those two together, it was a recipe for not disaster, but for greatness. And so everyone jokes about like that first meeting that she had everybody there was like over 100 people there.
Jeez.
And they were going to call the fire department because it was a fire hazard. It was people just keep coming in because that showed the want and the need of the community that we want a quality of life. So that just set in my mother's spirit so well. And so we'll fast forward to actually getting the quality of life plan and actually implementing the quality of life plan. Unfortunately, she passed away before she was actually able to see it. But the best part about that is I was able to just pick up the reins from her and just keep leading that charge for us. So Far South Chicago Coalition hosts the Quality of Life Plan for the Far South region. That region stretched from 130th to 95th, from
Okay.
the Bishop Ford to the
Yep.
57. As you can see, Pauline is going to be mouthing it because Pauline was there from the start with my
Okay.
mom and with Miss
Okay.
Tina, being not a voice from the organization side, but a voice from the resident side.
Yeah.
She's also a business owner of the Far South Side, so she knows and she has those connections with the people in different ways and different facets. So that was really important for our organization as well, to have multifaceted people, to have people that are not just business owners there, but you have an appreciation for your community because you're from your community. So the coalition is just that. It is a body of people working together. It is comprised of about 30 members now.
Okay.
Those 30 members are organizations, they are residents, they are business owners of the Far South. We are growing to a bigger advisory council, but we are putting our best foot forward. We have 5 committees that we host, which
Okay.
is education, youth and family with a concentration of mental health and health overall. We have green space technology. What else? I'm missing one.
Economic development.
Okay.
Economic
Okay.
development, and Pauline's going to say economic development.
Okay.
Because
The
that's,
business owner?
she's our
I
chairperson
am the
for
chair
that.
for the Economic Development
So
Committee.
yeah, she's gonna always try to
Okay.
plug herself. Economic development was once 2 other ones, which
Yeah.
was workforce and transportation and tourism. But we condensed into the overall Economic Development Committee. And this past year, we started our first micro grant under that committee. So that went well. We were able to assist 26 businesses with a small micro grant of up to $10,000,
Gee, okay.
which helped them either start the business or get the licensures that they needed, or get the couch that they needed, or get more equipment that they needed. So that was a part of our quality of life plan. So that's what we do. We step in when residents say, oh, we need the resources, or we need this for our businesses. We need a garbage can on our block. That's where FSCC steps in
Okay.
and tries to assist the resident with that. So we're not so much of workforce development or programmatic. We're developmental. We're a resource for the community. So our quality of life plan was derived in 2020. So that was under that COVID lens.
Yep.
So we're also now filtering in what's the needs now versus what was them before, because the economy changed, the community need changed. So we're really thirsty, wanting to hear from the community a bit more, and then bring community back, because a lot of our residents moved away in that COVID stretch. So we're trying to bring residents back. We're trying to retain the residents that we have. So we're opening up more town halls and more opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all doing a lot.
Yeah.
Y'all doing a
It's a
lot.
lot.
Yeah, the
Y'all
Far
are doing a
South
lot.
is
For
popping.
anyone who's listening who doesn't know anything about the Far South, hey, you might want to tap in, because there's some great things
absolutely.
It's
happening.
greatness happening.
There's some great
absolutely.
things happening in the Far
Yeah.
South. So, earlier you were just discussing how the FSCC has kind of played a role in the coordination of some of these resources. You mentioned like trash cans and couches and such. I want to know from y'all's perspective, being an employee of the Community Safety Coordination Center, where our role is to coordinate city resources for community members all around the city, how important is that coordination piece, along with like collaboration and not working in silos? Kind of want to, if you can, touch on the Community Activation Network and the roles that you and your organization lead. The importance of coming together and working in that outside of silos. How has that played a role in the successes that you've seen? And how will that play a role in the continuing growth that you desire to see for the Far South community? And we'll pass it to both. Amina, we'll start with you.
It's pivotal. I think I always say, like, one of the things on the Far South is a lot of organizations, right? But a lot of the organizations are being led by my marinated group, I like to say.
Come on
I don't like to say my
A
seniors,
seasoned, remember.
For sure.
but my seasoned group. And so one of the things that I've seen before I even came into this role was a lot of siloed work. It was a lot of me movement, my organization. So one of the things I come into any room and say is that it's not a you thing, and it's not a me thing, it's a we thing. And so I lead and I put that quality of life plan in the conversation, because it's like, if you're doing the work, I'm going to make sure you're highlighted with that,
Sure.
because you are moving the needle of the quality of life. So when the CANS group did come into play, it was like a breath of fresh air. I think a lot of orgs were a little hesitant to
Sure.
see what's
Sure.
going on, Are we going to get $1 from it? And I was the first to stand up and say, we ain't getting none.
Right.
And it's not about that. Community work is, if you are in community and if you know anything about community work, it is not about the pay.
That's real.
You have to have the heart for community. You have to have the passion to see your community succeed. So when it first started, we had a full room. It was about 80 people.
Yeah.
We're at a solid 25, and I think that is amazing. A year later, to have a solid 25 people that show up every 2 weeks and say, what are we doing now to build the community? And that is a testament to CDPH. That is a testament to the CANS group because we are breaking down barriers. When we are all doing our own thing, and I always say, if I know I can touch 100 with my organization, and you can touch 100 with your organization, together we done touch 200 people versus the separated 100 and 100. So if we could touch more together, there's no reason why we should be separated.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I did this past summer was I had hosted the first community trunk party for college students.
Okay.
Well, we serviced
For
over
college students?
Yeah, college
Okay.
students, because it's always
It's
back to
about the
school
back to
for
school
elementary,
supplies.
high school.
Sure.
But we had some youth going away, and they didn't go to, and there's nothing wrong with staying in state, but we had some kids go to San Diego. We had kids go to Arizona, Louisiana, Florida, but they needed that extra help to get there. So we hosted over 100 kids. And their families, they came out and I set it up and don't steal my idea, nobody.
Take it, just bring it to us.
And if you do, come join us. Let's make
Come
this
on
big
now.
and better.
For sure.
And that's
For
what
sure.
I'm all about. So the organizations from the CANS group, I let them know, and they came out with the trunks of their cars because I set it up like a trunk or treat. And you put the kids' school supplies, whether it was bedding, soap, dish detergent, dishwashing liquid, detergent, anything that you think college students
Absolutely.
need. Put it in your trunk and give it to them.
Yeah.
And it was over 100 kids out there. They had food. We had giveaways, music. We brought them all wagons thanks to Phalanx. So when they were moving into their dorm, they had wagons with them.
Jeez.
So it was amazing. It was an amazing time, and I think that was one of my first time visibly seeing what collaboration will do. So that was one of the things that the CAN network had offered
Absolutely.
us, because it offered the Far South region a space, and it offered us a place to sit at an equal table and to discuss the issues that we all are seeing in our community and come up with ways in which to tackle it. So I think that has been an amazing experience. It's going to continue to be an amazing experience because right now, as a group, we're tackling homelessness, which is highlighted in our My Future plan.
Okay.
Youth homelessness was huge, was one of our top 3 goals, and it's actually in the community plan with My Future. And so we're really excited to see the group actually working towards not just a community issue, but a youth issue.
Okay.
So that was one of I think that's the most exciting thing that we're going to be doing, because I always say the hot dogs and hamburgers are cool. Like, we could do a pop-up and we can save you for like the 3 hours that we're out there, but they need continuous impact. We have to continue to impact and get in there and say, hey, we're still here, you're still here. So we have to have that engagement. So that was one of the things that the Far South region really lacked. Is the collaboration, because everybody is doing such great work separately. So bringing it all in and having kumbaya moments every 2 weeks has been instrumental to us moving forward as a community.
Sure. I mean, where were you at when I was in college?
Man.
That would have been love.
Man, I was in college with you.
Golly.
Well, I'm sorry. My kid was in college. Telling my age.
Well, you
Right.
No, that's really dope. And I think the idea of, having that, I think it's unique when you mentioned at the beginning there was 80 plus.
Yeah.
And now we're at 25, a consistent 25.
Consistent.
And for some listening, that might not be a lot. But from community's perspective, we have 25 organizations, 25 community members show up every 2 weeks to a meeting where things aren't always beautiful.
No.
You're discussing some hard topics.
Yep.
You're trying to coordinate a solution. That consistency is key.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the progress of that with the Far South. When we, over the past year or so, when the CAN's been there, the Far South CAN is probably, the Community Activation Network is probably the most popping one at the current moment, because we see the most consistency. Yeah, shout out to the Far South. Shout out to Bernardo as well, all the partners. So that coordination is key. And from a Phalanx Family Services perspective, being an organization, being one of the most well-known organizations in the Far South community, now we see Amina coming in, and also want to honor Dr. Joyce Chapman,
Yes.
who I had the privilege of meeting and having slight conversations with her. There was some jokes that she would say. So
All day, every day.
yeah.
All day, every day.
May her work continue, her legacy carry on.
Yes.
From your perspective, Pauline, having someone who you can partner as, someone who can coordinate from Phalanx perspective, who's focused on the programming side. How does that play a role in your community engagement work? But also, how has that been? How's that uplifted some of the things that you are able to do now? But also, what are some ways where people who are listening can if there's this opportunity to tap in, how can someone listening jump into that?
Sure. I think for us is, this time was just the better time for the quality of life plan for the Far South. I think, you have to go through the storm just to get through the light, right? And I think what we did during COVID, what Dr. Joyce Ann Chapman and Ms. Tina Sanders did during COVID was just unique. They put their heads together and figured out the where and the why, right? And then through that, there was just a lot of different style of conversation that happened that got us to the QLP, but over time, that also got us to extract some of that for the My Shot, My Future plan. And so how this has, really impacted Phalanx as a way is it's helped design what programming would look like. So we're a workforce development program, and we do that very well, can do that with our eyes closed. But this generation is changing when you think about youth. The adults that's coming up from their youth is not your typical adults, right? And so what we have been able to do by coming into these CAN meetings, by being at the quality of life table, by being at the My Shot, My Future, community plan table, is really hear about this new stuff that's happening, the new way of people wanting to learn, the new and different ways folks want to make money, and it helped us cultivate programs for the people right now. One in particular is our drone class. The drone class conversation came out of just numerous conversations out of the CANS network meetings, which we then turned to be our My Shot, My Future.
We talking
meetings.
Drones like the
flying
word?
drone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Drone, like
drones.
those. And those. What did I say? Drone.
It's
English is my second. English is my second language.
I had to tap back into Pauline's.
Hence,
English.
I'm Haitian, right?
All good. I just want to make sure we're talking the same thing.
Yes, same thing. But I'm saying that to say that came from those conversations. We did typical workforce development. We done typical training, but adding life skills and workforce development through that aspect.
Absolutely.
That was not an idea that just came out from us sitting in the office. That came from us engaging community through the QOP, engaging through the community plan, as well as sitting inside of the CAN networks and hearing all these different partners of ideas. And when we came up with it, it wasn't just for Phalanx youth. And so we were able to open this opportunity up to folks inside the CAN network that opened it up all the way to other individuals. So those collaborations are very intentional, but it works better when it's when you got the third person coming in, and then it kills all the trauma and stuff we have. Because we've got a lot of trauma that sometimes get in the way of getting the actual work done. But by having Bernardo in those meetings, by facilitating, and when I say he facilitates and allow us to facilitate. Allow us to facilitate those conversations so we can be who we are. No matter what we represent. I think we have folks in there that'll tell you, I represent 40 plus years of being in the community.
Come on now.
And there's folks who here has been doing this work for over 20 years. So there's different aspects. And then there's Amina and I, who are fairly new to this work on this side of town in this aspect. Not new to engagement, but just this style of way of doing it. And so bringing that old and that new. I'm a remix type of girl. So, when you remix old with new, greatness always comes. So I think for us at Phalanx, it really helps just our eyes open, having a different layer of partners that's out there in the community, because that's not really where and how we started. Seeing what the troubles are, seeing what the barriers, us coming to the CAN meetings and, literally, passionately talking loud about them, because if you've been in one, like the passion you can hear in those meetings, and then having leaders like Amina Brooks, Lee Taylor in the room, just like really bringing us back to the full circle and the why, and getting us to start developing solutions. You know, I'm a solutionist. I'm gonna find a solution for your rat problem if you need me to.
Hey, that's real.
But but when you're in the room with like-minded people and they're coming up with great barriers and possible solution with an organization that has that great community trust and can bring in other folks to make that work happen, that's what Phalanx Family Services does with part of this CAN network. We're partnering now with one of the CAN's members who was doing a culinary class that we knew there was some barriers, and we had some solutions for it. But that would have never happened had we not all been in that same room, hearing what their barriers are and coming collectively trying to find solutions so our community could win.
Absolutely.
And so for people who's listening, who has an organization that's not really workforce development, that's grassroots into the community, and you do all that work, come and collab and talk and have those unwanted conversations that's going to bring tension, because that's when greatness is going to come out.
Absolutely.
Don't run from the tension. Embrace the tension, hear each other out respectfully, and just start thinking of solutions. Like, the solutions are yours. You have them in your community. You know what your community need. Don't try to just snatch everything and want your name to be on top.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of us as residents, that's what we see as a resident's vision. Right. It's like we're seeing you guys battle for whose name is going to be on the top flyer. But that's not important to us as residents. As residents, we need the resources. So sitting at Palmer Park, a park where as a resident I wouldn't normally go to, but watching over 20 organizations, which was our first activation as a CAN network, come together on the corner of 111th and King Drive while folks are doing things that may not be so positive, getting them to switch that up and participate with us in a great activity. Even though there was barriers that day, it was amazing.
Absolutely.
Everybody, I think that kickoff for us was great, and it just led the partnership from there. I think after that we partnered with the community youth barbecue cook-off. We went to one of the worst, people would think like I wouldn't go on 95th and Princeton Park in those areas, but we showed a different light. We just popped up, youth popped up, they barbecued and they had a competition. We all stayed, and we didn't just leave. We left with resources and all that. That came from the CANS network. And it should be
mentioned that we cleaned up.
I
think
before and after.
We have to highlight where our community is at versus where we want them to be. And my mother was a staunch advocate, and she would always say, meet the community where they are. And so I lead with that in any room I go to, because we have to speak to them in the way in which they can understand. And it's not to say like you have to talk to them in slang or derogatory remarks or anything like that.
That's real.
But you have to speak to them so they can understand what you're saying, because they have been put in disadvantaged situations. We have communities that are trauma filled, and not just in their own families, but in a way in which community does them. Community organizations have done them in the past, or may have done their mother, their grandmother, their aunt, or whomever, right? So we have to make sure that we are aligning ourselves in the best possible way, because like what Pauline said, what the community see is 20 different organizations giving the same back to school event. Why didn't y'all just partner together? Now I have to make it to John's event at 1. I got to turn around and make it to Pauline's event at 1:30. Now I got to come to Amina's event at 3. Families are stressed out trying to get the resources. And so when you sit back and you think of it like that, you're like, what are we doing about that? This is an us thing. And so we, FSCC for our South Chicago Coalition, have the opportunity to get with 2 other organizations within the network to host a women's event. And I said, we're not going to put none of our organizations on the flyer. We're just going to say the Women of Far South, because people know who we are by now. So let's just do what needs to be done. So one of the things the CAN Network did was promote trust within community organizations. And so when community sees that the organizations trust one another, they can trust us. Because how can you want us to come to you for help if you guys are not even helping one
That's true.
another?
Yep.
That's true.
So that was really big, and we have a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
We have more organizations to bring in.
Yeah.
We have a lot more hearts to touch, but at the same time,
Absolutely.
going back to what you said, 80 to 25 may seem like a dramatic dip, but if you have 25 solid people versus 80 versus what's my math, like 55 people that just
raggedly coming in
coming
when
on
they
my
feel like-
coattail. Don't ride that. We don't ride each other coattails here. You wear your own coat and I wear my bomber jacket because I am not wearing the long coats. And I tell people all the time, I give my mother the utmost respect, but to walk in her shoes is something that I know I can't do. She made her own legacy. She created something much bigger than what I did, right? But I am very interested to see my own shoes.
Sure.
I say because she wore heels, I wear gym shoes. She wore pumps, I wear dunks. These are not the same,
Sure.
right? So
Hey.
that's that's one of the things that we do in the community. We let them know, even though we're not driving the same car, we're still on the same path to get to where we need to go. So trust has been a big issue with community members to organizations because everyone looks at it like, oh, you guys are getting the dollar but not giving it to, it's not landing in the community. So one of the things with the CANS network, the Community Activation Network, it showed us to just show up. Showing up is just as important as the work. Even if you may show up for 5 minutes to that event and someone just sees you and because you talk about how busy you are, you got to go here, you got to go there. But if somebody see you at their event, it was set such a positive and monumental tone for that resident or that child that see you, that know you're sitting in the podcast right now with John downtown and the mayor probably across the hall. So if they see me here, but if they can see me at their
They
school,
know you be over there.
Yeah.
it sets tones.
Yeah.
It sets tones for sure.
It shows that you're real. I think that's the other thing is and I've had the opportunity to work on both the West Side. I've worked there for the last 14 years.
Okay.
And there is a big shift coming to the South Side. And this huge shift. But I think one of the things is there's been some disinvestments on the West Side, but not as much as the South Side. I think West Side is closer to downtown, so there's a lot of things that trickle over. We're so far from a lot of things, and the story about we get forgotten about is true. Like it's, and I know it's not intentional, but sometimes it just doesn't, your arms doesn't stretch that long.
Sure.
And so I'm grateful for a couple of administrations to not forget about the Far South, to continue to invest in things like bringing resources and people from City Hall to come and sit in rooms with us and not just set these meetings and then leave back out. I think both Bernardo and Stephanie, like they've become family. Now,
absolutely.
They've
Yes,
become
definitely.
family. We're trying to roll you in there, John.
We're
We're trying to roll you.
For sure.
Yeah, you're a little
For
bit
sure.
harder, but we'll get you there. But we
For
have
sure.
been able to create this bond with them where they know who we are. They know about the Far South. So even the community receives them well when they're at the events.
Absolutely.
They're not sitting behind the desk passing out. Like literally, Steph and Bernardo will have on gloves and they're helping out. So they're doing the work along with us and they're not bigger than the work. And I think that also speaks to community when you have people who holds the power or who we may think holds power.
Right.
Because
Sure.
sometimes we as community make a lot of assumptions. And when you come in and you roll your sleeves up and you get into the grind with us and you're not allowing us to, as much as we want to pity and cry, you're just coming up with things and ways for us to be better. That creates a collaboration effort that sometimes we don't even see the switch. Like
Absolutely.
we get to working together and it's like this is who we are. And I think the Far South has been doing it for quite some time. But when you get to have to struggle for the dollars, it makes it harder. But I think what this CAN network has been able to do is really redirect our mindset to think about, Amina's point, is much more than the dollars.
Absolutely.
The dollars is for sure needed because people got to eat.
Sure.
But the brains and the work that we bring to the table, there's no dollar amount that can institute for that. When you saw
Right.
that event on 111th and Pulaski. And I'm seeing folks who had meetings that day, but they're still funneling through, Amina one of them, to get back to the South Side, to make sure that they're there, and not just there to say I'm here, but there to like get on the dance floor with all kinds of folks and, you know, shaking hands with, you know, folks who didn't think you would shake my hand. It made a big difference for that park, and I know it did. And I've seen some of the difference. More people think to see what's coming through, and they're paying more attention to, like, if a sign is there. Like, are they coming back? Where's the next activation? So I think once we continue to just take those things across the city, folks would know, hey, this is this place where if I'm looking for information, this is where the information can be found because I know they dropped it off here. I think that's what some of those activations do. It'll remind folks that these are the places where you can go for things. And if we're not there with the party and the DJ, just trust you can go in this building and ask somebody about it. And they'll be able to redirect you to where we are. So, love that.
Y'all are spitting. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Y'all are saying some very...
we're going to get in the studio one day.
Come on
Okay. Yeah.
I think for anyone who is ever interested in community engagement, I think this is a wonderful episode for them to listen to.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can teach a lot of like skills, but at the end of the day, the biggest thing is showing up, being present and having consistency. You've highlighted that. And we've also identified how that's played a role in the successes that you've been able to provide through the Far South. So, man, like I had questions, but y'all was answering them without me asking.
Yeah,
so
I do what I can.
For sure. So,
although I didn't have eggs yet this morning.
Oh, God.
Gotta have my eggs in the morning.
come on now, got to. Even if they a little high, you gotta have them.
I'm gonna pay for it.
Real quick, I have been to a few Phalanx activations.
Okay.
I haven't been to many other Far South activations, so I need to. That's on my list for this year.
Don't that sound crazy?
We're gonna work on that.
Don't that sound
But
crazy?
I will say I've been to a few Phalanx ones, and they're always just top tier.
Top tier.
So, what makes a good activation? What are some things that someone must include?
Me.
For you, okay.
I'm not even gonna lie.
For sure.
I'm not even gonna lie. Amina brings a level of experience that you know that I haven't been able to find in other people yet. So I would pull. No, I am, and I'm dead serious. I think, you know, working alongside of her through the My Shine My Future initiatives, and those may be some of the events you may have attended. Like, it's one thing to give a community experience.
Sure.
But it's another to give them one that's going to last. And
Absolutely.
I think that's, like, we can give you backpacks all day long. We can give you a DJ all day long. But when you feel that the planner or the group, and I think that's the other thing, is like, there's got to be a planning committee. As much as you say you are the queen of your community, the queen of your block, what I can say about, you know, working at Phalanx Family Services, working alongside Amina Brooks, there's always a group. It's always bigger than one person. And so when you start thinking that you're part of a team and you start collaborating, whether your ideas gets played out or not, because I have the craziest ones, believe me. And you may not see them at the end because they get kicked out before we get there. But I'm just saying, but to be in a space where folks allow you to just blurt out things that you think you might need, and from there comes some stuff, it makes a difference when the activation. It makes a difference in the people who are working it. It makes a difference to the people who are, even some of our vendors. If you've been to any collaborative event on the Far South that Phalanx or FSCC is a part of, you would see some of the same vendors, but then you would see the energy is different too.
Okay.
Because they know that you don't, and Amina will tell them, don't be all stiff. Like she telling me now, like, loosen up, welcome the people, you know, make them feel good. Because if you're giving them that hot dog or whatever we got for you, and there's some tension and some attitude that comes to that, whether you're a staff or one of our vendors, they will be able to feel it and they won't come back. They won't come back. So I think people have to understand that when you hire folks to come to your community, you need to let them know about your community.
Yeah.
You need to prep them about who's coming, you know, what Susie John is coming. So when they do come, they get the same welcome, the same smile as everybody else, as if you would have came on with your city uniform. And I think that's one of the things we do different when we hold our events. No one gets treated above the rest.
Absolutely.
Everybody get the same level of respect.
Absolutely.
Everybody have the same level of fun. And you will see some comers that comes around and they would dance all
4 hours of the event.
long.
They look forward to that.
And they look forward to that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's one of the things I would tell folks is just collab with your other community partners. Stop trying to do it by yourself. You can impact so much more in a collaborative effort. Who cares whose logo and name is on the flyer? Do what you have to do for your back office later, but for this moment, for while you're trying to serve your community, collab, show the love, show the trust, and your community will always come back.
Yeah, they're gonna
come back.
They're gonna remember you. Yeah.
That was a very humble response. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I appreciate that because I think you highlighted something that I say humble because the planning committee is a huge thing.
It is.
And the intentionality even behind the customer service, in a sense, for activation.
Yep.
The purpose of the activations is to have a lasting memory with those that you're interacting with.
Lasting good memory.
Yeah, exactly. So, and knowing that you all are very intentional about that shows a lot about like who you are as people, as organizations, and who the Far South community is. So that's really dope that you just explain it that way. But I will say I've had some really good food there. I've heard some really good music. I've had some sweet treats over there. So I was hoping you would touch on that a little bit.
No, because that's her camp.
For sure.
That is her camp right there. I'm going to let her touch on the
I've
food.
had some good food over there.
Yeah, the sweets. Yeah. I know how to bring the people together.
The food is just the food, as we all know, you just feel good when you're eating good food.
Yeah.
You nice and full.
Absolutely.
So once again, the hot dogs and hamburgers are great. Don't get me wrong. But when you can really feed your people, if you have the opportunity to do that, do it. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. Even if it's pulling up an ice cream truck instead of buying popsicles. I've done that to schools. And it just sets tones. Just a little extra step, just a little extra sauce on it. It just makes people, it makes your community understand that you see them. Like, this is you. And one of the things I was embedded when I was growing up was you treat people the way you want to be treated. If you're not going to eat that, then don't feed that to nobody. Okay. And so I'm a meat and potato girl. Steak and mashed potatoes, roast beef and mashed potatoes. When she say steak and mashed potatoes. And when I say beef and potato girl, I am a beef and potato girl. Okay. And so for me to say, okay, here's the hot dog with some Lay's chips, and I got my pot roast and mashed potatoes in the car waiting for them. No, it's in the car because I done told the vendor to bring it.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? So I need to feed you the same thing. Okay. And it is just that little extra sauce on it that's just going to make a big difference to the community. Even if it's just, instead of giving you just a party in a room, I'm going to come in and put drapes in that party. I'm going to put balloons. I'm going to give you a photography booth. I'm going to create a space because that's just as important as just having an idea of giving you a party. See it through. See the whole plan through. Let's not just that, because our community, we have had things just dropped in our community for years. Here goes some dollars, but they didn't teach us how to retain it. They didn't teach us how to get it again. They didn't even teach us how to circulate it properly. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to drop something in the community, but I'm also going to teach you how to love it. I'm going to teach you how to respect it. I'm going to teach you how to appreciate it. So that's why every time we get a bigger group, we get a nicer group. And like Pauline said, and even at the Community Activation Network, I told the other orgs, why didn't we get up and pick something up? Accountability. We have to hold each other accountable. They didn't like it when I said that, but if I didn't get up there and say it, who was going to say it? We have to hold each other in that high regard, because that's just how high I think of you and your organization. You should have never just been sitting there. Get up. Let's talk to these kids. They should have never been over there playing by themselves. You know, so those are big things for me. Small changes, but make a whole big impact. And when you're talking about activation. So you treat people with customer service. I don't care if it was the local person you see every other day. Outside with a cup in their hand. They come in your line. You're hot dog and hamburger. Ketchup, you want some mustard? you don't treat them like what you think you see.
Sure.
Yeah.
You treat them as a person. So that's always big for me because my hashtag is I'm here for a good time.
Well, not a long time.
Come on now.
Yeah, because at
That's-
that 3 o'clock time, she got that bag in her hand.
It's time to-
But it's not just about the cleanup. It's about, are you good?
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you get everything you needed today? Because
If
that's the
there's
other thing is the
extras, do not
follow
throw
up.
that away.
Absolutely.
Pass that out, box that up, pass it to
Yep.
everybody in this line.
Yep.
If it's anything extra, we should not be throwing it away. And it's great because we can give it to the homeless downtown, here and there, but we have homelessness right here in our community.
Yep.
Here's an extra 6 hot dogs for you and your children. You've been out here all day. That hot dog they had 3 hours ago has ran off when you hopped on the
Yep.
mechanical bull, when you did your pony ride. Here's 6 more to go. You know, so that's big, and that's why we get community coming back to us, and that's why people will say Phalanx Family Services name, because they know at that event. I remember the lady who gave me 3 extra ice cream cones at the end because my baby was crying. Small things that make major impact, and those are the stories that will trickle downtown that you guys may hear, and why people know if I go back to that event next year, I'm gonna get the same type of service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then here go me putting this other hat on that Amina talks about. I think the other thing we do well is I think we try to find local vendors. We try to find folks where our funds can come right back in the community. And as much as, you know, that's hard a lot. That's very hard to do sometime because we know some of our folks are not just ready to receive some of that stuff. And I think this is where economic development comes to play. This is where Far South Chicago Coalition comes to play, is setting those businesses and setting those vendors up for when those opportunities come, they're ready to take advantage of it. Phalanx is well known for doing that. Like, if you are a small business and you're in the community, we will give you a shot. And right. And if the shot is, if you didn't receive it well, that is why we have great partners like Far South Chicago Coalition in the room, because we're going to get you over to them. So the next time we ask you to come back around, you're ready. So it's not about you weren't ready and we don't want to mess with you no more. We have resources in your community for you, so therefore we can bring you back. And I think that plays a role, is the follow-up, you know, making sure the people who you got can come back the next time. So we do, I think one of the things that Amina started helping us do is these recap videos. I think prior to that, we weren't really doing a lot of that. We would show you about hundreds of pictures of how great this event was,
But
right?
we know the attention span is about a minute to a
I
minute
stopped
and 30.
looking at 10,
You know?
picture number 10. But we started doing these recap videos now, and if you go on both website, Facebook pages, they're there. But this gives you a quick synopsis of like what happened at that event and make you want to come back. It's just enough to make you want to come back more. So if you're doing community engagement, you're out here engaging folks, and you're not doing little quick recaps, that's something you should try to blend in. Photos are good.
Sure.
But when you do those, like I play that trunk party video, that it's like saved on my favorites. That probably what y'all just heard. But I'm going to pop that video out, because just that little 60 seconds give you enough to say, hey, where I sign up to help next time.
Yeah.
Or how do I get my child in here to get the services next time?
Okay.
Those are the 2 things I know I look for after an event. Is like, how do I come and partner with you for another event? Or how do I get this person into this event for you? If we know we can answer those questions for folks, we did our job. Even if it's just one folks. We did our job at that event, because it's about connecting people. It's about giving people stuff what they need when they need it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one. I like that.
Even if it's just
Even
for
if it's
one.
just one.
Yeah.
This is great. I think y'all just gave the recipe for success for community engagement work. For anyone listening, would highly recommend, again, to check this out and really just like study, learn, listen from individuals from the Far South community who are serving the Far South community and leading the Far South community. So with that being said, we're wrapping up here, but I always like to end with one thing, a personal question about the area that you are representing. In the past, I've asked like favorite food from your neighborhood or whatever. However, in this particular instance, I want to ask, what's one space, whether it could be a restaurant or a park, that you would recommend if someone was like, I want to explore the Far South area? What's one area, what's one business, what's one park, safe space, museum that you're like, you should come check out this space in our community?
I let Amina go first.
Okay, I got a couple.
Okay.
I'm gonna start off with the eats because I'm a foodie.
Okay.
Go to Home and Hoagie.
Oh,
Steak sandwiches.
Is this a sweet steak?
Yeah. Sweet and hot.
The on like 100 and
111.
I've
yeah.
had
You're going to
that.
wait for a while, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
No,
Hey,
that was good.
The steak sandwiches with the fries with sauce, you will not be disappointed. I even do the turkey hoagie sometimes. Steak, sweet hot, cheese, extra meat, extra sauce. Yes,
Noted.
extra meat. Judge somebody else.
Noted.
You gotta have the fries with it.
Okay.
Cold Coke on the side with some ice. You're welcome. Museum. We have the National Pullman Park that's situated on 111th. However, we also have. He's also a part of FSC as well. Big up to David Peterson. With the A. Philip Randolph Museum that's situated on 104th in Maryland. Go check that out. If you don't know anything about A. Philip Randolph, he led the first unionized boxcar workers. So please go check it out. He is a wealth of knowledge, Mr. Peterson.
Yep.
So go check that out. Business wise, I'm gonna go with, and I'm not big on candles, but she does in a dope. She did like a therapy type candle shop, and you may know her because it's Pauline Sylvain. Pauline Sylvain is a business owner on the Far South region. Max Candle. Her story of how it originated is beautiful and is culturally in depth. But her candle making class, she hosted a candle making class for FSCC's retreat, and everybody walked out with like a tear shed. I'm like, what the? Wow. I don't think I can curse on air, but I was like, what did she do to everybody? She's there crying, and she had some Sade playing or whatever. But those are my top 3. So I gave you a place to see, a place to buy, and a place to eat.
Dope.
Oh, okay.
Dope.
And she took my place to buy because I'm sure it was going to highlight that amazing business that's run by this amazing young lady called Pauline. Food, I'm an egg girl, right?
Okay.
I'm an egg girl. But of course, you got to go to the old-fashioned donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Old-fashioned donuts?
You got to get there early, like 7:45 in the morning. Get it right out the grease. And you got to get the breakfast sandwiches.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
It's like grandma cooked them on her stove top.
It's nicely greased and
my
buttery
God.
and no good for your body, but it's
none. And it comes on this like
Yep.
hamburger bun, so it brings up so much childhood memories from when we couldn't afford the sliced bread, so we had to eat the little hamburger buns off the chain.
Okay.
So that is
Texas donut.
Yeah, she gotta have the
Texas donut.
I just need the eggs and the bacon and the bread. That's good enough for me. So that is a great place for me. A quiet space for me that I have found, and the craziest thing you might think is the West Pullman Library. The West Pullman Library. Yes, I have found peace and safety, and just for some reason the silence in there has allowed me to be creative.
Wow.
So it's my go-to. It's a secret. I'm letting y'all have it because now I don't be up in there coming in there making all that noise.
Okay.
But I will run into the library for about 20 minutes just to get my rised up, and then before I hit the community work. But that's my safe space.
Okay.
Other than that, I just like to walk the community.
Okay.
I literally love to walk in my community. It scares my family out a lot, and I think that's one of the reasons why I do this work is because I don't want to be telling my husband I live literally walking distance from the office, and I don't want to tell you I'm walking to work and you feel like you got to drive behind me just because you feel it's not safe. That is what he'll do. And so that is why I get up and do this work, because I want people to be able to walk in their community like I enjoy. I used to walk growing up from 108th to 123rd. Will not and am not doing it now, but I wouldn't mind walking down from Michigan to Halstead sometimes.
Sure.
But if you just walk some of the spaces in the Far South, despite where you might think the safety issue might be, you will feel some kind of joy. There's great things happening on the Far South.
Yeah.
Up, down, north, south. We have some amazing people. It is a big, thriving Haitian community that I didn't even know about it. On the south side. I thought it was all east. But there's a lot of hidden gems. So just walk it, connect with folks, organizations. We will tell you where to go, but you got to stop and get them donuts and that egg sandwich.
No, that sounds good.
And you can have home with a hoagie for lunch.
Yeah, I had home with a hoagie. Yeah, that was really good.
I know it. I know it.
Really
You got to tell me.
Yeah.
That's dope. So real quick, if someone wants to get in touch with you, or your organization. If you don't mind sharing social media or email on here, so if anyone wants to learn more, they can tap in.
Sure. Well, everyone knows Phalanx Family Services. We are located right on 119th in Halstead. Phalanx, if you Google that, it comes up our Facebook page.
Okay.
But we do have a link tree because it's called Phalanx. So if you go on Linktree, all of our links are there.
Okay.
You can find us.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And Far South Chicago Coalition is also located inside of Phalanx Family Services.
Beautiful.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Far South Chicago Coalition. Our email is info@farsouthcc.org.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yep. So that's us.
That's perfect.
Us.
I greatly appreciate you, Pauline. Greatly appreciate you, Amina. Thank you for representing Phalanx Family Services and the Far South Chicago Coalition, but also, and at the end of the day, the Far South community as well. So it was an honor to be able to hear the wisdom that you all shared with us today. Again, for those listening, we really push you to learn more from this conversation. And for those who are listening, that wraps up our episode. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, ladies.
Hey,
See
thank
y'all.
you.
And that's our show. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to rate and subscribe wherever you find podcasts. I'm Dr. Bora, and we'll see you next time.